Hello, this is my video for assignment 13, and we will be going over everything right now. This is take 2, by the way. This is assignment number 13. We have an analysis of data that we extrapolated from some documents given to us. So starting off with the executive summary, just let me read you off here. I've done an analysis like I was saying, I have done an analysis of historical data to determine the possible effects of index and paper pricing on a specific paper type, 80 number dull paper cover or cover paper, in an overall effort to find the possible change to annual spend. A positive possible outcome was found to be using index prices in winning bid sheet. A possible negative outcome was found using extended prices based on the lowest paper prices, using a weighting on paper prices in lowest paper cost sheet. Moving on to good points, and that should be known. Logical groupings were organized via ID numbers and order IDs, these being source document names. Only 5 data samples were used in this analysis. So this is what I was given with, 5 samples. So I mean, this is what I had to work with. So this is what I came up with given those 5 samples. Data standardization was achieved through converting units down to square inches. This was done because of our unit size was paper in a sense. So we were given 2 different paper sizes. So what I did was move down 1 more unit, which would be obviously square inches, and through that square inch standardization is also how I found the index for the other paper size. That we were given an index for one of the paper sizes, and what I did was I took that index and divided it per square inch per that size of paper, and then times that number by the square inches of the other paper size to find the index for the other one. So the index is based off of the same number, but on a standardized way. Moving on, we have not all index prices were found to be lower than extended prices, thus leading to a change of 0% savings for certain logical groupings. We'll go into this later. I'll talk about it. So moving right along. So here's some data for you. As explained before, the numbers we are using for this specific set being the lowest paper cost, it's using data from the lowest paper cost. That's the lowest paper cost extrapolated data is what we're basing our decisions off of, but the data that we're actually using to measure is the extended prices data. So what you can see here is they're obviously logically grouped by ID numbers and labeled by source name. Right here we've got 5 groupings, and they're both here. We've got a total cost and target cost. The blue are what we currently are paying, the standard here, and the orange is what we would pay if we ordered the extended price orders, which are corresponded to the lowest paper cost, essentially. So we have what we are paying, and then what we would be paying if we were going by the pricing of lowest paper cost. Moving on, this graph visualizes the negative impact this buying hypothesis could have. So as you can see, there's a negative, it's a negative trend. So an important note to see here is the fact that this is based on a 0% to a negative 18% y-axis here. So I would want to note that because I don't want someone who can't quite see this data to misinterpret this as 0 to 100 or 0 to negative 100. It's 0 to negative 18, so it's kind of misleading to the eye. So just want to point that out. And as you can see, this really represents the change we saw in this previous graph right here. This negative price change, the difference between target and total. So obviously lower paper cost resulting in a negative change. So moving on to winning bid, the next grouping of data. So we have winning bid. This is based on the extrapolated extended price data and put against the standard price index. This is the index, obviously, the one that's important, the one that you wanted us to level everything off of. The level bars indicated right here and here are due to what I mentioned in my executive summary, being the fact that the amount that we found to be the lowest was actually one of the extended prices and not the index. So therefore, we would have to go with one of the extended prices rather than the index. And these right here are the lowest extended prices, which would be lower than the index and therefore would cause no change. If we went from the lowest extended price to the lowest extended price, there would be zero change, therefore resulting in a level graph right here. But moving on to this section right here, we go from this very low, we go from this this decent price right here and go skyrocketing down to this low target cost with the index being obviously substantially smaller. And I will show you the visualization of that right here. So this is the data that I use to visualize. This is the percentage, essentially the one over the other for the percentage. This 0% showing that level bar graph from the last slide. That 0% increase is obviously seen here, but that huge difference in the target and goodness, why am I fudging on this? Target and total. The target and total difference is obviously seen here, which there's a huge percentage for growth and increase in savings. So moving right along to the overall summary of the data. This is important. This is the big important guy right here. This is the guy that essentially would be the headliner right here. So this is summing up of which we have covered, and it's the percentages of annual spend that we currently are having, which was a given, which was 3,630,000, and what we could be having given the two options, which was winning bid and lowest paper cost. So now, as you can see, the positive percentages that I had shown you and the negative percentages that I had shown you are both represented here and here. So now I got from those percentages to the annual spend by applying the percentages I had to the printed product percentage and then again to the percent print cost, and which I finally then applied to the annual spend to find the difference in change in annual spend. So as an overall summation and clincher to this PowerPoint, I would like to show you that basing our numbers off of lowest paper cost and using the extended prices, which will lead to a negative 0.65% in savings. And if we were to move our prices to the index price, it would result in a 2.106% increase in savings. So obviously the index being the best, as obviously we would expect. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Have a good day.